I think a lot about Micah 6:8, which I think it's not just a what, it's a how about Christian engagement in the public square. Not in other words, it's not just what should we do, but how should we do it? And it says, what does the Lord require of you, O man? What is good? It is to act justly. This is exactly what Justin was just talking about. Act justly. That's an affirmative obligation, but is also to love kindness or love mercy, depending on your translation, which we often, and we see this today all the time online and elsewhere, that when we are seeking justice and we're acting justly, we're often self-righteous and harsh and unforgiving. I was listening to a podcast recently, and Michelle Goldberg from the New York Times said something that has stuck out to me for weeks and weeks and weeks. And she said, there are movements in this country that are more interested in finding heretics than seeking converts. And that has really stuck with me. And part of the whole notion of loving kindness and loving mercy is that you are seeking and to embrace people. You're not seeking to repel, you are seeking to embrace. So you're acting justly, you're loving kindness. And then this last one, walking humbly. Again, in this era of, I know what's right, I know exactly how to achieve what's right. And if you don't agree with me, you're a complete idiot, or worse, a bigot or a hater. Walking humbly is perhaps the most countercultural of the three prongs. One of the things I think that is incredibly powerful is to walk into a room where people are wrestling with an issue, such as how do we deal with, for example, I mean, it's like peeling an onion of difficulty. How do we deal with, for example, taking the issues I know the best, dealing with, for example, systematic violations of the Bill of Rights in marginalized communities in the US? How do we walk in and say, how do we fix this? And one of the things to say is to open with is, this is hard, and I want to learn. This is hard, and I want to learn. And I think that you walk in like that, especially if you're somebody coming from outside a community into a community. I might have a lot of knowledge about Supreme Court case law, for example, about unreasonable search and seizures and how that applies to no-knock raids and the exclusionary rule and the stand your ground laws and all of the legal factors that went into the killing of Breonna Taylor in Louisville. I've never been on the receiving end of a no-knock raid. I've never been in a neighborhood where no-knock raids are common. If I'm going to be talking to anybody in communities that are most directly affected, one of the first things I have to do is just listen. Just got to hear it, instead of walking in and thinking, I have figured out justice, I shall now implement justice, and you shall thank me, which is the way a lot of us approach the political engagement in the public square, when it should be, I want to act justly. I want to learn how to act justly, and I want to embrace and love people in that process. And I think that is an incredibly countercultural approach, which is that Micah 6:8, these interlocking obligations. We can't have one without the other, and it's incredibly countercultural to a American political and activist culture that often soaks its justice in self-righteousness and soaks its self-righteousness in unforgiveness.